Have you ever had your hair long?
I did. Yeah.
How long? Is this on? All right, go on.
I was in Australia when I was 21, and I let my hair grow, and it was all coloured and bleached and all.
No way.
Honestly, yeah. I came back into Dublin.
Keep this close.
I came back into Dublin Airport, and my dad and my brothers did hardly recognise me. Big red beard, right? First time I ever grew it, and I had all my hair bleached with blonde streaks and everything in it. So they were there kind of looking at, is that him? Is that him?
Shit. So did you live the rock and roll lifestyle?
For a few months in Australia, then I was brought back down to earth when I had to come back home to Rathdowney.
You had fucking great growth in 4 months. Come here, Frank. Frank Donny.
Yes,
that's your name.
That's correct.
It's not Santi. Don't have that rumour going around.
Not yet, anyway. I might.
So I'm only have to find out you're a Laois man.
Correct. Yes.
Born in Laois.
Born in Dublin and lived in Laois all my life. Yes.
And you may go back and tell me why you were born in Dublin now.
No. I was just in Holles Street. I'm a Holles Street baby. So.
Oh right.
Yeah, that's all.
And where in Laois were you?
Rathdowney.
Yeah. How many of you?
There was 3 of us, 3 boys, no girls. Just 2 of us at the moment because my younger brother actually passed away.
Oh, go ahead.
He was killed in a car crash at 17.
Long ago?
That was in 1993.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It kind of takes me back actually because I heard about this accident, there yesterday in Tipperary. A young girl there from Thurles, 15 she was, again in school, and yeah, it brings it all back to me,
And you were only a young lad when that happened.
I was, I was only about 20. Well, there was 9 years between us, and he was 17. So you can do the maths.
That has to change the way you think about life at that age, does it?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, what you think is, the stable family environment changes overnight, instantly, actually, and I remember the priest coming up, to knock the front door at the house on a Sunday, a lovely, beautiful Sunday afternoon. It was the 4th of July, 1993. Parish priest, he was given the task to let the family know.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in the house at the time. My dad and my mother and my grandmother were all there. And he came to we're all wondering why, on this summer's day. There was a festival in Rathdowney at the time. It was called the Flare in the Square.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's
that
the
was
Scarecrow now, isn't it?
That's Doro. I think that's Doro over
yeah.
there. But no, this was the Flare in the Square at the time. And, the town was absolutely buzzing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this was about 6:30 in the evening. Unusual, we were at tea time. And there was a friend of mine up from Waterford, Tom Brazel, who I used to do some powerlifting with. And he had gone home on his motorbike, and he was just sitting down having the tea, and the parish priest walks up to the front door and hits the door. And Dad goes out to see what's this about, and he was told that your son Nigel was killed in a car accident. Everything changed. Everything changed that you thought was normal. Instantly changed. Yeah. It was shocking, really.
That's a summary you won't forget.
No, absolutely not. But look, time passes on, and you don't forget these things. The feeling is still there, but you just kind of cope with it differently. You just kind of. But things like you hear this accent now there, and
brings it back.
Brings it all back. Yeah. You really, really do feel. The emotions that these people are. The family of this poor girl is going through. You really hit you hard.
Yeah. It makes you closer as a family?
Yeah, it makes you appreciate, life and your family. Absolutely, yeah, your family and your close friends as well.
Yeah.
I lost a good dear friend of mine only about 2 years before that. Again, that really hit me hard as well. He was probably my best friend at the time, and he went missing, and we were wondering what happened, and he was found hanging.
My God.
Yeah. Only 33. That was kind of the start of a lot of kind of tough times for me. To be honest.
That was young to be introduced to that kind of.
Yeah. It does forge a certain sort of mindset. A sort of having to deal with adversary. Life puts these challenges in front of you and you just got to be able to deal with them.
Normally not at that age.
No,
when you're not fully developed as a...
not really, no. But you get, you grow up pretty quickly and you have to deal with, and you have to be able to, not just think of yourself, but think of the other people around you and that, so there's a lot. It brings on a lot of other responsibilities pretty quick that you have to deal with, looking out for your parents and looking out for your other, siblings. Yeah. That sort of situation, it just refocuses you, Yeah.
And going back before that, were you good in school? Did you like school?
No, I hated school. I always hated school.
So when you left school, what did you do?
In school I liked, actually. I was okay. I was okay at school, but I actually hated it being there. Just did enough to get by, that sort of way. I had this ability that I could cram an awful lot of information before, an exam or whatever and pass, and that was it, so wouldn't see myself as being studious in any way. So
what did you do when you left school?
I just got to show you just how blasé the whole thing was. Myself and a mate of mine, I grew up in a terrace, so we basically all were kind of like brothers at a certain age. We were in the same class since we were like 4. We grew up together, played together. Everything was together. So when we did the Leaving Cert together, it was like, well, where are we going now? And it was that simple. The Carlow was the closest college to us. So that's where we went, and there was no other thought process put into it. We had options of different places, and that I had got dairy science in UCC and all this sort of thing. I'm not going to Cork. I don't want to live and go down there and Haslick having this, get down there.
You were thinking about practically.
Practically, absolutely. There was a bus. Going from Burson Osprey through Rathdowney on a Monday morning. You'd get on the bus at 8:15 and you'd be in Carlow just about 9 o'clock.
Time.
And that was it, yeah. And that was, that was as much career guidance I needed. Nearest, and is there a cheap bus going to the place, and that was it.
And what did you study?
Just to go back to that, about going there for, Carlow has kind of an open day for students to go in. I had that back in my day as well. So myself and my mate, we said this is where we're going to go now to see can we get it on a course. He had electronics engineering, and I had mechanical engineering. And I also had, as my preference, I had biology. I was more into science than engineering at the time. So we got a lift. We bummed a lift off another person that was bringing their daughter down, right? And so the two of us were in the back, and we landed down there and went in the foyer, and there was a sign for engineering, and there was a sign for science or whatever. And I kind of was going towards the science. That was my preference, But your man that was with me said, "Sure, you're doing you have engineering as well, don't you?" And I said, "Well, it's mechanical engineering, yeah." I have electronic engineering. He said, "Sure, let's go to the engineering place first, and you can come back down to the science place." Sure, I went off with him, and then we split. He went electronics, I went mechanical, and I got the course mechanical. I never bothered then going looking for the science course, and that is actually how I ended up in engineering. It was chance, completely chance. Yeah. Because I wasn't even that interested in metalwork or, as it was called back then. It's engineering now, engineering technology now, and, all that. I wasn't interested in it in second level. And yet I ended up on a course that I stayed on. Quite literally, I stayed on for 2 years, got a cert. Didn't get enough to do the third year because I was quite literally just dossing down there.
And cramming.
And I can only cram so much. And so I had to get a year's work experience, and I got a year in the meat factory in Rathdowney, Meadow Meats, in the maintenance department, which is great crack. And then I went back and did another year and got a diploma. And then I went to Australia. And then that's when I did all the mad things with the hair.
What made you go to Australia? Follow the lads?
Yeah, follow the lads. follow the lads. There was actually guys that wanted to. One guy had a contact over there. His mother was Australian. He was living in Ireland, but his mother was an Australian citizen, and he then had all the contacts to go, to get work over there. So we were able to go over there, and it was Canberra. We were actually able to go to get work, and I stayed there and came back. Then did another 2 years to get a degree in Carlow. That's
at this stage now. Were you loving the mechanical engineering or getting interested in it?
Yeah, no, I tell you, this is amazing. Really, the transformation started off. It was only like almost like a transition from the tech in Rathdowney into car. Not that interested, trying to do as much Dawson and cramming for passing exams. But then after the 2 years, and I had to actually leave, I could not progress any further. Had to go get a year's work experience before I go back. That actual time working in the meat factory in Rathdowney with the maintenance crew there. My title was actually maintenance controller.
Nice one.
Maintenance controller. First title I ever had. And
did you say, call me maintenance controller, please? Don't you dare call me Frank. It's Mr. Maintenance Controller.
Well, see, everybody knew me because most of the guys that worked there knew me from that high, and actually one of the charge hand was actually a relation of mine, and so it was very clear as to know your place, So the big job I had was just issuing out job cards for for certain things that had been needed to be done on certain schedules, like on a PM system and things. But there's kind of like a story before that. I actually, my dad worked there. My dad worked in the meat plant, and he was one of the first people to actually work in the meat plant in Rathdowney. Actually, was a brewery initially, and the brewery then was actually converted into a meat plant. Right, that's how it. I
didn't know that.
Yeah. And so he was one of the guys that was brought in to kind of commission the new kind of setup.
Wait, how did he know about?
Because he was a trained butcher. He's actually from Mountrahat.
Oh.
And he learned his trade here with Keegan's Butchers.
Yeah.
He started off as an apprenticeship there, and then he moved on, and he got, he became qualified, a master victualler, and then he was working in all these different kind of factories and things around. So it became known then that he would be the guy that could train locals in, like local guys that would never have held a knife in their hand before. He could train them up and get them to work in this new meat plant. So, he took off maybe about 20 young lads over to England, and they were actually able to stay in two places over there in England, beside two meat plants, and he was kind of looking after them, and brought them back then, and then they were able to kind of get going.
That's how that started.
That's how that started, yeah. That's how that started, actually, yeah. And I remember, even then, like lads would be calling to the door of the house saying, would you, Mick was, hey Mick, any chance to give a start there from a young lad, or whatever. Like he kind of, he was the go-to to try and, he was kind of able to help people kind of get in the door, sort of things. And, to be honest with you, a lot of guys never forgot that, Did
he ever say to you, Frank, I can get you in here. You can be the main butcher. I can get you a samurai sword.
It was actually the opposite. I'd say he would have, done anything within his power to, this is not a job for a young lad, one of my young lads. It's, your arms would be up in cold water, and you'd be in cold environment, wet and damp. Kind of, it was tough. It took a lot of it. It took a lot out of him health wise over the years as well. He was suffering with arthritis in his hands, from bone and that type of thing. So he I don't think he ever wanted any of us to follow suit. So he was pretty happy the fact.
So he was delighted when you went back after the
big
work
time.
Experience and applied yourself.
Big time, yeah. And that third year, call it the diploma, I flew it.
You just ramped up.
Oh yeah, switched up a different gear, and because then I could see, there's actually a career in this.
And did you know the career?
At that stage, when I went back, I was absolutely 100% convinced I'm going to be a mechanical engineer. I wanted that then. That was it. Nothing was going to stop me, you know. So, yeah. I like, you know, lads that often go over to Australia, they don't come back, you know. They're forced to come back if, you know, if they have to renew. I was only going to stay my length of time, you know, that was on my visa, come back straight into college again, get my degree, and then, you know, work as an engineer.
So when you left college, and did you go around, where am I going to work? What am I going to do? What kind of mechanical engineering? Like, how did you know what you wanted to do? Or did you have to try a few things first?
Yeah, I mean, this was the late 80s, you know. Ireland was a tough place to find work back then, you know. And a lot of the guys that graduated went off to, you know, England and America, Australia. You know, they left. Not a lot of guys stayed in Ireland. I didn't want to go. Like, I had got a little bit of that bug out of my system.
Plus, you were you know, trying to mind your parents and stuff and stay around.
Yeah, I wanted to stay around. I was the oldest, you know, son, and like my granny lived with us as well. And I just wanted to. I didn't want to kind of just up and leave, and you know, that would be pretty tough on her as well. You know, she reared us, like, you know, along with my mother and father. And no, I was absolutely going to stay in Ireland, but certainly getting work locally, like in Laois, was out of the question. So I had to kind of look a bit further afield. So I got work down in Waterford. Went into a company there, a small company, but they were a precision engineering company. It was called Waterford Tool Company.
CNC work.
Yeah, CNC work, precision engineering. I had lots of big contracts with some of the big multinationals. And at the time, the government was trying to get, you know, small indigenous Irish companies to take on a graduate. And they were offering them a grant. It was called a Tech Start grant. And they had to just say, we have a little project like for this guy to get his, you know, in my case, it was getting an ISO standard for, you know, quality system. And the ISO 9000, it was called. And so that was my kind of project. And, but like, once I got in the door, I was, you know, doing all the checking of quality of the products that the guys were making and raw materials coming in the door, making sure it was meeting the spec that we needed it to be, and like checking all the first offs and everything then that was leaving. I had to be the guy that could say
quality control.
Quality control, yeah. So the role was called quality engineer. There was quality manager, really. There's nobody else in the department. I could call myself a manager. But getting them the ISO and making sure the product was actually, you know, fit for purposes. The definition of quality is that it does exactly what it's supposed to do. And getting them shipped to stock status with some of the big multinationals as well was also kind of like a little bit of a bonus, you know, because that means then that it goes from your factory straight onto their line. They don't check it, you know. So they have so much confidence in you that you're not going to let anything pass you. You know, you're going to be right there from the start. Comes in raw materials right through the process all the way. That, you know, this guy is doing all this, making sure all this is happening. When it comes to us, we're not going to waste time or money checking it. It's going to be right, and go straight into their machine. They don't even check the quality. That's like ship to line.
So how long did you stay there?
I stayed there. Went in '89 and I left in '91. That's I left.
Were you making good money?
I was making good money.
Single?
Yeah, having the crack. I left after my friend died.
Did you work with him there?
No. He was living in Rathdowney, and I suppose I was trying to deal with that and work, and that I found very hard to do. I kind of just couldn't do the two things together. So I handed in my resignation. I just left.
Went home,
yeah. And I basically, to be honest, I just went on the dole. I went on the dole.
You were only a young lad.
Yeah, I was still, I was. But it was just that I couldn't do the two things. I couldn't kind of get over that shock, that loss. And, you know.
Was it the type of loss that made it hard?
Yeah, it was. Very hard. It was hard because, you know, it's still hard to talk about.
Yeah.
But it was actually, I suppose, if anyone was to know he was going to do it,
Yeah.
it should have been me. You know, like, to be honest with you, I felt like, you know, I missed something. Like, was there some signs there that, Jesus, like, you know,
But you can only see signs if you're looking for them.
Yeah, well, that's true.
You know,
That's
in
true.
life, you know, you
that's
can never
true.
know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it took me a while to get over that. But while I was there in that sort of, you know, at home period, that was when my brother was killed in the crash.
That compounded everything.
Yeah. That compounded. But it was probably a good thing as well, because, you know, you're there, you know, and also I got to spend that extra kind of time with him.
Yeah.
You know, because he was actually in school. He was doing his Leaving Cert. Did his Leaving Cert in '93, and he was killed in July after doing his Leaving Cert.
God.
You know, so that was tough.
That's really hard, because it's someone right at the precipice of starting their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I suppose, you know, with all this potential there, you know, I remember helping him with his project, his engineering project, you know, and things like that. And you're there, like, you know, and you're kind of saying, like, Jesus Christ, is like, why me? Like, you know, why is my life now so hard? You're asking all these questions and things like that. And you just kind of, you have to kind of plow on through it. Again, you're looking after your mother, your father, my granny, who was dying at the time. Actually, she died a couple of months later of cancer. Okay. And yeah, it was tough because, you know, she didn't have to see that. You know, she didn't have to experience that, but it's just the way it happened. And you know, you're just kind of having to kind of put the best brave face up and help everyone around. At the time as well, this is like the first time I ever really spoke about it anyway. And I'm not afraid to talk about it, you know. I'm kind of probably should have talked about it a long time before, but it's hard to get through these things on your own, you know. And I absolutely bottled this in, you know, as tight as, you know, you could ever bottle something. And it's just, I suppose, look, it's not healthy. That's one of the things. I do think I have suffered, you know, emotional damage, and, you know, probably did everything wrong, you know, like for not looking for it. But then, like, you think about it, you're in a small little town in the middle of Laois.
And it's a different time.
At a different time. Where the heck are you going to go, like? Yeah. And, like, okay, lads would come up with you and they'd say, you know, just sorry for your loss. And, you know, other guys going, you know, you have to stay strong now and all this, like, so. I was strong. I was after winning the powerlifting championship, the senior powerlifting championship, the week before my brother died, you know. So guys were kind of, you know, you have to be strong. And I was thinking, you know,
I am strong. This isn't helping.
And it's nothing to do with physical strength, you know. This is all in your head and mental strength. And you didn't feel too strong in that regard, you know. But yeah, look, just have to kind of plow on, you know. There's nothing easy about it. No. But then you look at other, you know, there's always this kind of situation where you can say there's always somebody worse off than you, and you just kind of, you know.
But it's all relative.
You don't, you know, you're not looking for sympathy.
No.
That's the wrong kind of, you know, you're not looking for sympathy. You're just looking to kind of make this whole thing kind of be more tolerable, and you can just, you know, keep kind of, you know, moving on, going forward, you know. And
did it make you angry? Most men, like, turn emotion into anger. It helps them deal with it. I read some psychology book, and especially for young men, and like there's that's why men commit suicide at such high rates. And there's, you know, what's that saying? Most men die when they're 30 and get buried when they're 80.
Yeah.
You know, we bottle stuff up and you deal with it because you have to. And
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I suppose the outlet I had was powerlifting. Like I say, I was after winning the All-Ireland.
How'd you get into that?
I got into that
in Rathdowney in the 8th.
No, there was no. It was actually when I moved out, and believe it or not, I was always interested in kind of. I used to make my own little weights when I was a young lad. You know, even out of concrete.
How? Like, how'd you get into it? Were you watching the A Team one day and go, BA's one badass motherfucker? I want to be like that.
Before, no, I actually. I used to get, some of these magazines with Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that in it now. And I'd be saying, God, I'd love to be looking like that, having muscles. And because in school, I would have been kind of, fairly small. And I was almost a year in age behind my classmates. I don't know what way, how young I started. I started off too bloody young, really. But like nearly everyone was a year older than me, so I was always kind of the weak little guy. So if it came to wrestling or stuff, usually I'd lose. So I just I suppose I was trying to say, there's only one way to get strong, and that'd be, lifting weights and stuff like that. So I used to make my own weights when I was in Rathdowney, and I used to lift them and.
Oh God, if there's videos of that now. The two concrete yokes.
Absolutely.
They probably both weigh in two different things.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So how strong were you?
Back then I wasn't that strong. But when I was doing the powerlifting, I started powerlifting when I was in Waterford. First of all, that's where it started. I went into a gym, I was just doing an ordinary kind of exercises, not doing like powerlifting. I didn't even hear the word before. And I was just lifting weights there, and the man that owned the gym, he said to me, he says, there's a competition coming up in the town, like in Waterford. Would you be interested in going, into it? He says, for the club. And I said, I don't know anything about competitions or like what's the lifts? And he said, you got to do 3 lifts. He said, you got the squat, you got the bench press, and you got the deadlift. Well, I never deadlifted, first of all. I was not really afraid of deadlifting. I was a great bencher. I was always a good bencher, right? Even when I was in Carlow, I could go down to the gym there, the multi-gym, that this thing. The heaviest weight was 100 kilos. And without even warming up, I could lift 100. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could do it, yeah, absolutely. Without warming up or anything, just sit down under, press up 100 kilos.
Same as myself.
So I was always good at benching. I was not great at squatting, and I never did deadlifting. So I said, yeah, I'll go into the competition, yeah. So...
no training?
A little bit before that, but I was more just dependent upon, just a bit of natural strength and just, a little bit of... I used to do a little bit of leg work, but my legs were always very weak, And so I had to really kind of spend a lot of time trying to build them up and get them strong. So I started winning. Competitions. And I went, into the junior Munster Championships, won that. Went to the intermediates, won that. And then I went into the senior powerlifting championships, as I say, the Sunday before my brother died. And he was with me on that day. It was in Waterford. And I won that as well.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What's it like to win something that you're like the strongest man here?
Yeah.
That must be cool.
It was good, yeah. It was, yeah. Because there was quite a lot of people. After winning like a couple of the regional ones and things, you'd kind of see the same people in the competition, and you'd kind of know, well, he's not going to beat me. I know I'm stronger than him. Might have a bit of a problem with him now because he was getting fairly close. So it was always that kind of.
Was loads of women following you?
No.
Tell the truth, Frank.
No. I am telling you. Your expectations now are...
my brain works weird.
Completely wrong.
I'm thinking about these. Oh my God,
yeah. No, sorry. Not in them days anyway. No.
So did you stop deadlifting and weightlifting and powerlifting after that win?
Yeah.
Did you stop everything after that?
Pretty much. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So for how long did you stay in that zone?
I'd say I stayed in that zone, I suppose, for a good few years. But in the meantime, after about a year, my granny died. I would say, my brother, unfortunately, lost him in July 93. My granny was sick. I had to look after her. And she died in May. of 94. And I had kind of started to do a little bit of looking around for work. Did a little bit of teaching, kind of substitute teaching. I studied. I kind of did a little bit of kind of prepping for teaching. I got the syllabus for the engineering technology course, and I started kind of revising some of the and then I just applied for a substitute teaching post, which I got in Kildare, and I did that for a while, and I kind of got an offer then of a job, a permanent job in Thurles. I was like a reply from a couple of submissions of CVs months and months before. I'd forgotten about it. Out of the blue, letter to say, we'd like to meet you. Would you call for an interview in Thurles in this company there? Went and I got the job, and it was handy because through the back roads, as we used to call them, Rathdowney to Thurles, it's only about 18 miles. So I was able to stay at home, commute over and back for a while, and basically, I was kind of getting established back into a career again, which was good. And I when I was there, then I was passing a for sale sign on a site between Rathdowney and Thurles, and I went in. Local farmer was selling 2 sites, and I said, "How much are you looking for a site?" And lo and behold, I bought a site and I built a house. And
were you single at the time?
Still there. I was single. Yeah, I was. I'd met a girl. We were on a course together. This was before I'd actually started a substitute teaching job. So it was kind of in the early days. I think my brother had only passed about maybe 2 or 3 months before I met her. This is a course I just went on just for money. I got more money doing this course than on the dole.
Yeah.
And I was in Abbeyleix, and I met her on a course in Abbeyleix. And, Patricia's been with me ever since.
Oh, that's lovely.
Kissed me before I left home tonight, saying she loved me. And, we've been together ever since 93.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's helped me, no end through the hard times, absolutely. She was there when my granny died, when my mother died back in 2006, and then my dad died recently in 2016. So, they're all gone now. It's just me, Patricia, and my brother, and that's it. Yeah.
Have you kids?
No. Not intentionally not having kids, but no, they just never came, and that was it. And I suppose we just said that's just the way it's meant to be, and so be it, But yeah. So, and then we were working as well, and then, I suppose, I don't know. I never really seen myself in that role, to be honest.
No man does.
Yeah. Well, I never really, I just never thought I'd be that good at it anyway.
Not one of us are good at
it. Yeah. So I just said, look, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, so be it. So.
Do you remember when you what's your wife's name? Patricia.
Yeah.
Can you remember a moment where you went, "This is the one"?
Yeah, it was funny because, you can imagine. About 2 months after losing your brother, I was not right in the head. Didn't give a fuck about it. And I was violent, actually, but not. I was violent more. Let's just say I'd never back down. I remember going into a couple of discos, and there was bouncers there, and I jostled the bouncers.
You were looking for an outlet.
Yeah, I was, and I remember huge guys, and they were they were so restrained. They probably knew this guy's not right, and I was, I wanted to fight him. Just wanted to release, Probably could have got killed, but it didn't matter. That was almost that's nearly what you wanted, But back then, I was going kind of from that, kind of not looking after myself, couldn't care less about anything, to I suddenly was in this classroom where there was this girl, and I absolutely just fell in love with her. And everything then just kind of calmed down to a more kind of normal level. And, you know, I was kind of thinking, God, you know, I better look proper. I better look after myself, kind of physically looking, you know, like wearing proper clothes and stuff like that, and asking her out and kind of, you know. So, yeah, I think, you know, I don't know, was it destiny or whatever, but she certainly came around at the right time, you know.
Do you believe in destiny?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think certain things are too coincidental to be just pure chance. I think the older I'm getting, probably the less I believe that everything is random and up for, you know, infinite possibilities. I think there's certain things, I don't know what way you want to call it, but I think there's certain things are a lot more likely to happen than not happen. And I think possibly that's my definition of coincidence. Like, you know, why that is, I have absolutely no idea. You know, I have no idea. But I don't think, you know, you can say we live in a world of complete and total randomness, that every possibility has an equal chance of happening. I think there is a certain structure, a certain order. Why it's there, how it's there, honestly, I have no idea. But I think there is, yeah. And I think, you know, you can define that as destiny if you want, you know. So, yeah.
It's actually really freaky when you read some books on quantum physics and quantum mechanics and Schrödinger's cat and all this. You're there thinking, the double slit experiment freaks me out. You're there thinking, maybe there's something more to this than, you know, maybe God's not a man with a beard up in heaven, but there's something.
Yeah. There seems to be some order, you know. I mean, you know, I think human beings have been trying to, you know, show that mathematically, you know, that there is certain rules and constants. I mean, what's a universal constant? You know, why is it there? Like, you know, and was it there before we were there? You know, we just discovered it, but we didn't create it. It was there before we ever found it. So it would beg the question, like, is there a purpose and things like that? I mean, I don't see myself like as being a, you know, somebody that would be a religious type of individual. But I would still think that, you know, there is certain order, like in the universe, and I think that's completely unexplainable. I think, you know, any attempt for people to define it, you know, is probably wrong. Some people have defined it as a god, and, you know, things like that. But I don't think it's that simple. You know, I really do think it's still a very big unknown, and I think we're a man.
Well, it's definitely not simple.
Man to kind of say it, to have an understanding of it is a bit arrogant, to be honest.
The more I think about all that stuff, I freak myself out.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
Like when I talk to myself, I'm there. Who's listening?
Yeah.
Who's talking to me? Am I talking to myself, or is there something behind my brain talking to me?
Yeah.
When I say hello in my head, who's answering me back?
Well, this is it.
Or why do I hear it?
You can be there. You can be there, and you could say, you know, if you know, a certain part of my brain is taken away, you know, and it could be taken out. You could still be conscious, like, because it could operate in your brain. You won't even feel it. Like it doesn't feel pain. So they could take a portion of it out and they could put it there in front of you, and you could look at it. And now you're saying, you know, is it thinking? You know, is it looking back at me in a sense? Like, is it aware of me here or whatever? And there you're kind of saying, like, you can be reduced down to a finite kind of point almost, you know, where you're still there, and then suddenly take another bit away, you're gone.
Yeah.
Was that you, the last bit you took away? You know, so it's very difficult to try and define exactly who you are or what we are. You know, the totality seems to be more than the sum of the parts, you know. So that's the key thing there, is trying to think.
When you're chatting to me, it could go anywhere, couldn't it?
It could. Yeah. Why am I talking about quantum mechanics?
I don't know.
You know. And
anyway, I digress again. Frank, where did you go working then after that? Did you stay at that teaching?
No. I left the teaching to go working in the company in Thurles, and then I built the house. Then I got married. Got married in 2000, and I had a good few jobs around that area. I went. I was in two companies in Thurles, and then I went down to Bulmers. I was working in Bulmers for about. Yeah, it was. God,
What year?
I think I started in Bulmers around 2005 ish.
Did you live in Clonmel?
No. I was commuting.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. I was working down there around that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
Forests, cutting timber.
Oh, cutting timber, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Medite's just across the road there.
Medite is behind us.
Yeah.
Medite, actually, I used to smell the dust from Medite when I was in Bulmers. Yeah,
I was responsible for some of that.
I imagine so. I'd imagine so.
What did you do in Bulmers? Engineering again, looking after.
Yeah. I went in. My role was facilities manager, so I was actually looking after like the site and also the offices, like anything that people needed in terms of aircon, and I did everything from changing.
Were you a perfectionist in your job?
No, not a perfect. You can't be a perfectionist when you're spending somebody else's money. You have to be very cost aware, and you got to be practical. You got to be doing the job in a cost effective way. A perfectionist doesn't give a crap about expenses or that.
That's a great way to explain that.
Yeah, sorry.
It is.
That's my definition. I might be completely wrong, but but when you're working as a manager for a company, it's not your money. And I had a huge budget. I can imagine the sort of budgets I had. Hundreds, thousands of euros a year would be within my remit to spend, and I was responsible for putting in. I was the project engineer for a wastewater treatment plant that was several million.
Fuck.
And I was the engineering person that was liaising between the contractors and Bulmers, and so that was a big responsibility, and there was a huge cost, in that, and you were trying to make sure everything ran smoothly and didn't overrun on budget. And
because if that was me, the rubbish and water would be going into the river, and I'd have a Porsche.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of these places kind of account for people like you. Through auditors.
Where's the wastewater going? Don't worry about the wastewater. Did you see my GT3?
Yeah. That's why you need cost accounting specialists there, just to keep an eye on budgets and spend and things, Yeah. But
why'd you leave that job? Sick of the travelling?
No. Unfortunately, I was just caught up as part of a redundancy scenario. They were stripping out costs. The company had kind of set up Magners.
Oh yeah.
That was the big kind of.
That's when the big change over went in there.
Yeah, they were going to take over, the cider market in the UK.
Yeah.
Overspent on that hugely, overdeveloped the site. Got themselves in a lot of trouble with banks and things like that. Spending banks.
I remember that going
money, and then suddenly we're not selling as much cider as we thought, and the competition came out fierce in the UK because that's really the stronghold of cider drinking, around this part of the world would be, northern France, and then into the west counties, I think, of the UK, around Somerset and Bath and all these places there, Taunton. And so they came out on the bandwagon, the fact that, CNC is who owns Bulmers, they had kind of reignited the whole market interest in, cider in a glass with ice and all that. They said, well, we'll let them spend all this money advertising, the cider as a new popular drink, and then we'll go in and we'll undercut them, and we'll compete against them on cost. That's what happened, and suddenly CNC were in a bad position and had to contract, then cost cutting and having to lay off people. So they were obviously looking at the people that were costing the most money which was the senior and middle management. I was middle management, and I was offered a redundancy package. And well, when you say offered, you kind of had to take it, yeah, in that sort of way. But in fairness, very generous, great company. It was the best of times back there when I was working in Bulmers. Really, really looked after the staff very well. You know, we were treated very well at Christmas. You know, you could, drive your car into the car park, open the boot, they'd put cider in and they'd put wine in, and drive down another place to turkey and ham. They were really generous. A fabulous company at that, before the cost cutting came in, But it wasn't, they didn't have to change because of the cost of the turkey or the ham. It was the fact that it had gone into the UK market, trying to market Magners, that everything crashed and everything changed. And then it was, a case of all that was gone, complete culture.
Did you take a break, or did you go straight into work again?
No. Took no break. And again, just because they were such a good company, they helped everybody to try and get another job.
Really?
Took them through what's called an outplacement program, whereby they were spending money on consultants and that to help people, get back into, because some people were there, I was there probably over 10 years or that. And sure, you wouldn't be used to interviews, and
you'd be
used to interviewing, people,
Yeah.
because I would have, interviewed people, but no, I wouldn't have been kind of seeing myself now as having to go for a job. I mean, I went on a course one time up in Dublin, and there was this kind of little session where you stood up and you had to introduce yourself. Frank Downey, the facilities manager, Bulmers. And the guy came over to me afterwards. We were on a break for coffee, and he puts his hand on my shoulder. Fucking job for life there, boy. And that was like, probably 2 years before I was made redundant, but it was seen as an absolutely solid job. But it just goes to show you, that life...
if you want to make God laugh, make plans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So, no, as part of the outplacement there, the consultant that I was dealing with, he said to me that he knew of some jobs around Tipperary, because he's obviously probably doing the same sort of work in other companies around, and he said this company, small company, he said, is looking for I had transgressed from facilities manager. This is kind of a sort of over time in Bulmers. I got in as facilities, and I was also like the production engineering manager for Grants of Ireland, which is the whiskey making side of the CNC business, in Clonmel. And but I had gone kind of from that into EHS, Environmental Health and Safety. So at this particular time, when I was made redundant, I was the EHS manager for CNC. Actually, I had a group role as well, so I was not only responsible for Bulmers, but I was responsible for a CNC site in Glasgow, Tennent's Lager, and also then a cider company in Somerset, Gamers, as it was called, Gamer Cider. So I was looking after those 3 sites from a kind of health and safety and environmental.
So did you fly over?
Yeah, I used to fly over quite a lot, yeah.
Did you wear a suit all the time when you walked in?
No, not suits. The culture was kind of more open shirt, no tie.
Open shirt?
Well, okay, open top 2 buttons.
All right, Jesus Christ. I was thinking of a whole different scenario there. Oh, fuck lads, Frank's coming. The deadlifter with the shirt springing in the breeze and the long hair and the beard. I was there, fuck me. That's a vision.
That's a vision.
That's a vision.
And you should keep that to yourself.
But now I know, no, 2 top buttons, 2 top buttons, 2 top buttons.
Yeah. Cash.
Yeah.
There was a time, just so you know, and it is important to, there was a time where senior managers in Bulmers, it was white coat, shirt, tie, and I started off, in that sort of...
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it was very, very
like
strict.
In the ad?
Very strict. Yeah, it was very, very strict at the time. And then over time, it was kind of getting more relaxed, and it was kind of, and there was a time, to be designated car parking spaces out in and all that type of culture just kind of started to
drift away.
Yeah. But I started there with my shirt, tie, my white coat. Didn't have a dedicated parking space now, to be honest, but they were all taken up. But yeah, that was it. So the culture kind of changed over the period of time that I was there.
So you were looking after these sites?
Yeah, looking after these sites. So like ultimately the reporting to the board and things like that for the accident rates and the and the environmental issues and things like that, I would be looking at after that, and kind of having a direct connection to putting together, say, this sustainability kind of as it was report in the annual. The sustainability section in the annual report every year, So yeah, it was pretty important looking after that at a corporate level, So it was quite a responsible job, but enjoyable, very enjoyable. But unfortunately, I had to leave it.
Yeah,
I had to leave. So then, like, I started off then in this other small little company that this consultant had actually put my way, and that was in Tipperary. Like, again, you could kind of. You can understand I was kind of trying to not move out of Tipperary so that I could stay living in my house.
Yeah, of course.
That I built. And so, yeah, I wasn't too bothered at the time about, it's a small company and things like that. And in fact, I looked at it thinking, like, I could bring an awful lot to this company.
Yeah.
Could bring a huge amount to it with the experience I have and things like that. So, yeah, I started off there, again, EHS manager. And there was only about 30 people working in the place, but they made steel mesh and rebar that used to kind of supply to merchants, around, and also to contractors, big contractors in Ireland. That'd be, putting in everything from, new schools, hospital extensions, all that type of thing. So, I went in there, got them the ISO standards. They'd lost them over the years, and
so you put the effort into growing this and making it better.
Yeah. I went in. It was kind of had things, lost things, because the role was vacant for about 2 years. The person that was doing it before me had left, and they were gone 2 years. The role hadn't been replaced, and then I think because it was the company's owned 50-50. By an Irish business and a Spanish business. I think the Spanish business basically said, like, we should have a EHS, somebody looking after health and safety here. So they then hired me, and I had to start basically from the ground up. There was very little there in terms of there was no management system there at all, and they needed to get back their ISO standards to attract business.
More business, and go in for more contracts, and
yeah, exactly. You won't get a contract now.
Without all those things in place.
In a lot of the big construction companies, without having, show us your energy policy, show me, your climate action plan. And like, you're a small company with 30 people. Well, who's going to write that? So, they're not going to afford, like, consultants for all of this. So if they can get a guy in-house and, he's competent enough and capable to kind of do all this stuff, it's a big bonus for them to do that. So I reckon that it was a win-win.
How long were you working?
I was working there coming up to 8 years, I think. Yeah.
Lot of effort.
A lot of effort, yeah. Because I say I was on my own in that role, and I was trying to put my own kind of stamp on it. I had, like, the most efficient ways of doing things, most efficient ways now of putting in all the risk assessments and, the kind of managing contractors and, training. I did all the training there myself with the guys. And
in that kind of company, like, is there loads of bosses, or is there one boss?
No, just one. I just reported to the MD, and I had then, as a colleague beside me, a production manager, and that was, and then there was accountant. There was an accountant, and there was it was just a small kind of really compact team, and
everyone got on.
There was salespeople there then as well that was kind of in and out and on the road, kind of working from home, that type of thing as well. So yeah, everybody was absolutely, you have to in a small team. Your personality is a big part. You know, you could have a great CV, but if you couldn't relate with people and be part of a team, you know, you're not going to survive there very long. But yeah, it was very exciting.
What was the name of that company?
BRC McMahon. They're in Tiptown there. Yeah.
So, when did things change? When did things start getting a little bit weird there? In your opinion?
In during COVID, like we were working from home a lot, so there was actually, I suppose, a lot less interaction face to face, and I was. This is in the kind of March of 2020. I was at home and I would be kind of looking at. I was working, as I say, from home a lot, most of the time, and I used to get my paycheck. The pay slip would be emailed to me, and I opened it up, put in the password to read it on the screen, and I was looking. I was saying, "That's not right. You know, there's something odd there now," and just did a quick calculation, kind of pulled up an old one and looked at this one. 30% of a deduction. I said, that's weird. I says, exactly 30%. So I contacted the payroll.
It's a fairly hefty amount.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it was a surprise, you know, there was absolutely.
That fucking bad was. Fucking 30%.
Yeah, it wasn't. And you know, these things, it's usually a deduction rather than an increase. And so I contacted payroll and they said, no, we were told to do it. I said, who? And they said, you know, my boss, the managing director. And so I contacted him and I said, you know, why did you take this money out of my...
This just out of the blue?
Out of the blue, yeah. But I wasn't the only one. You know, I took it out of other managers as well. But I suppose, look, I was the sort of person that, you know, kind of challenged this situation. I don't know if anyone else did. Certainly they didn't take it to a point where I actually raised a grievance for doing it, because I did a bit of research and I found that there's actually a regulation there that, you know, protects a person's wages and salary, so that, you know, once you make a contract with an employee for a certain, you know, payment every year or every month or whatever it is, that's protected in law. Right, because it's a contract.
That's right.
And you cannot break a contract without consultation and without agreement. Neither of those two things happened. So somebody effectively decided, I'm going to take 30% off this person's salary, right? And again, I'm just talking about myself. And that's it.
So when you rang him, what did he say?
When I rang him, it was a case that, we had to do this because the business is, you know, under pressure now, COVID, you know, and this type of thing. And I was saying, well, like, it's tough for everybody, you know, everyone is suffering, you know, and everyone.
But never consulted
everyone
you,
has built. No. And see, that's the key thing about it. I mean, you know.
If dialogue
happened and if, you know, a genuine case is put forward there and you can see, you know, like they weren't going to put the
figures in front of you.
Figures in front of us or anything like that. That wasn't the case. But still, I suppose if you were, you know, if you're convincing and if you're, you know, honest, you know, about what you're trying to do here, you could certainly go away and think about it. And you mightn't say 30%. Look, I can afford 15%. Yeah. I'd be happy with that. Work away. But as I say, it was just 30% gone.
If you're not happy, like, what did he say to you?
It was a case of, you know, that's it. Like, you know, we just needed the money to survive. You know, you're not getting back your money. Like, I never got back the money, by the way. I never got that 30% was taken. I never got a cent of it back. Right. So I raised the grievance about. I went through a procedure because they have a company, you know, booklet there, a company manual. And
you probably wrote it.
Well, I had a certain contributory parts to it and all the safety bits. But so there was a procedure there for a grievance. Like, if you have an issue with a manager or with a colleague or whatever that, you follow this process, right? And but unfortunately, the way the process was written is that I had to actually report my grievance to my manager.
And that's the guy you were actually...
And that's the guy that effectively took the money off me. Yeah. So I had to do that.
So you hung up the phone and you rang him again. And he goes, what do you want, Frank?
Yeah.
I'm actually raising a grievance with you.
Well, I had to do it in a letter. I had to write to him. And actually, this was step one of the grievance procedure. I had to notify my manager of the grievance.
So then what happens?
So he met me, and again, it was a case of, you know, how tough times the company was going through, and, you know, you weren't the only one. Now, you know, it's like, it's not victimization. I robbed everybody. You know, and so, you know, effectively, like, they just wouldn't admit they did anything wrong. He at that particular moment, that was the minute I brought in somebody with take some notes, and kind of was the formal process.
Was he getting annoyed with you just...
Well, look, the thing there was, you know, the expectation was, you're only a fucking troublemaker if you know, they have this grievance procedure, but like, why fuck if you use it like you're a marked man, like, you know. So it's a case of they had it on paper. They never ever, you know, envisaged, I'd say, it ever been used. And I suppose some of that fact of...
Because you'd still do your day-to-days and do your work?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is going on in the background as well. And
anyone else that was there come to you and say...
I asked... See, this is the other side of it too. I asked some of my colleagues that had been effectively robbed as well. None of them would stand with me on this issue. It was kind of like, look, you know, it's not worth it. It's not fucking worth the hassle, you know. Because they probably knew themselves, like, you know, what had happened, that, you know, this is not going to end good for you. And it was a case where I said, no. I suppose I look back and I said to myself, you know, I've gone through worse.
Yeah.
Gone through a fucking lot worse, you know. What's the worst that can happen here? Lose a job. I've lost people.
Yeah.
You know, try to...
Weigh the two up.
Weigh the two up here. And so I didn't care about the consequences here. I was going to deal with that. You know, I was going to be well able for that. So I just drove on. And so he wrote a letter back to me to say, you know, I did nothing wrong, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's the findings of my review at this stage. So, you know, you can appeal it. So I did appeal it. I appealed it to his boss. His boss, obviously, nothing wrong here. You know, again, kind of protecting the business, and so I took it to his boss. Like, I could appeal it twice, right?
And is everything a little bit raw work then?
Oh yeah. You're seen now as a bit fucking of a troublemaker. They don't say it to your face, but you can read the body language and things like that, you know. So it's, you know, I'm now reporting it to the big boss, the guy that effectively owns 50% of the business, and again, didn't kind of go the way the other processes, the other kind of, he didn't really want that witnesses and stuff. It was a man-to-man kind of, you know, in the closed room. So I explained.
Intimidating?
Not really, no. I wasn't intimidated. I don't think I could be ever really intimidated, you know. As I say, I'm very mentally strong now.
You haven't seen me naked.
And, you know, I don't think so. I don't think I'd ever be that intimidated even by you.
You're right, though. You're right.
Yeah. But no, it wasn't. No, there was absolutely no fear there. And it was a case of I would get my point across, and, you know, hopefully it'll be put to bed. But it was kind of it was not the formal process that was enacted. It was kind of not minuted. It was, he only wanted to talk to me face to face. Went so far as to disconnect the phone on the fucking table for some bizarre reason. Because, I had to leave my laptop case and my laptop and my phones and everything out in a different office.
That's paranoid.
Oh yeah, paranoid. Yeah, seriously paranoid. And then went to actually disconnect the phone, took the cable out of the phone and on the desk, and I just said, you know, what the fuck is going on here, like, you know? So you're doing all this. Where's the real bugs?
Yeah.
You know, and the real secret camera.
But can you imagine, Frank, if you're a man with a family and you need that job and you do
Yeah.
get intimidated?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very intimidating tactic to use.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. You're there on your own with the CEO, which is his official title, and yeah, you're there now.
How was he?
Look, again, it was a case of explaining to me how the business needed to do certain things, you know, in order to survive. It was tough times, you know, we weren't selling that much stuff, and you know, this is just having to step up to the mark, you know. And I gave him this example, right? And I swear on my life, right? I swear on all my dead relations. I said this very thing to him. I said, Mark, I said, you were telling me you needed my money, you know, to get through these tough times. I said, just imagine, I said, I have tough times, and I go into one of your shops, and I see, and I said, actually, I said verbatim, I swear this is true. I said, I see a Milwaukee drill, I said, up on the shelf there, and it's worth €400. I says, and I pick it up, I says, and I walk out the door. I says, and I'm stopped. Possibly stopped by you or one of your staff. And I said, and I'm pulled back in, I said, into the office, and you sit me down and you say, why did you steal that? And I say to you, I'm having tough times. I said, I need the money. I said, I need to pay the bills. He says, what would you do? What would you do? I said, that's what you were asking me to do. He just shut up. He didn't say a word. And as I say, I swear on my dead relations, that was verbatim the conversation I had with him.
And that was it then?
That was it. So I was getting, I was kind of, you know, getting expenses this way, that way, and the other. And he basically said, look, you know, we'll review your contract. We'll give you a bump up. You know, would you be happy with that? And I just said to myself, I said, this is about as far as this is going, you know, with this company, you know. So do you want to kind of chuck it, or do you want to just stay in the job? Like, I signed, it's kind of like an additional amendment in your contract. So he gave me, you know, a couple of quid more, signed off on this contract, and I said, shook his hands over the table and said, right, okay, let's that be the end of it now, so forget about it. I got some extra money in my contract, which is going to be every month, you know. So I figured, like, logically, over time, I was going to get my money back. But that's the way he just kind of, he tried to deal with it. So that actually went on for a good few months, you know. That was nearly June of 2020. It started, like I say, the wage deduction was March. And now it was nearly July, into June, maybe into July, when all that thing went, you know, was finished with, as I thought. Yeah. So, anyway, one of the things he did say to me at the time when he was, you know, when we were saying...
This is
like,
the CEO?
Yeah, it was like, you're very expensive, you know, you're one of the most expensive employees now. And I kind of said to myself, that's not good. He didn't have to say that. You know, he almost kind of... It was almost like a normal kind of, you know,
you might as well say
exchange or deal.
Problem. You are a problem, Frank.
But he effectively said,
running around with his shirt open.
Why would you say that? Why would you say, no, you're one of the most expensive guys?
Jelly?
It's not one for me, no thanks. So I left anyway and went back to my job, which I continued to do, continue getting them, you know, going to audits. We'd be audited quite a bit and preparing for that, and, you know, training guys, making sure, you know, keeping the place as safe as possible, putting in guarding around machinery that was, you know, guarding was never there before, and all that good stuff, you know. So it was coming up to a time when the production manager, a colleague of mine, was retiring. And this was known, like, because he was of the age, and he decided, like, you know, that was it. I'm taking retirement, going to go off into the sunset.
Pina coladas on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he was being replaced by another person that was to come in, and this person arrived into BRC McMahon's in roughly around May of 2022. I was there, I met him, and the problem was, I guess, with it that was unusual was the guy that was leaving was on the same level as me, but the guy that was coming in as an operations manager, I was going to have to be reporting to him.
Okay.
So it was a bit of a push down. So now the MD that I was reporting to has brought in a guy between him and me, and I was now reporting into this operations manager. I wasn't really comfortable with that because I seen it as a bit of a demotion, to be honest. Nobody was really that happy with it, but nobody kind of said that. And I kind of had fought a battle, and I kind of knew, at this stage, it was kind of shut up now and don't be too bothered about that. But he was in the door a couple of months, probably not much more than from May to June, July, when I just noticed a change,
Smelled a rat.
Smelled a rat.
People were trying to get you to go, like annoying you.
Yeah. There was, like, I was being questioned about like decisions, and like I wanted things, kind of like, for example, contractors that would be coming in, say, over the weekend. Wanted to make sure everything was really tight there for, had all the method statements and risk assessments, and I wanted to see how they were. Like, an example was they were going to be working off trestles and things like that. So I needed to see, are the trestles certified? Was there actually railings on the trestles, and was there, safe means of access up to the platform and things like that, tow boards, all that sort of stuff. And I was kind of more or less told, like, it's what they have is good enough, and you don't be worried.
Well, if that hadn't happened, it was your fault.
Yeah. Oh, if that hadn't happened, I'd have been thrown under the bus. But yet I wasn't being allowed to do the job the way I wanted it to be done, So there was that sort of challenging all the time. Like, I'm making the call on this, not you,
Would they say it like that?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Very arrogant sort of character. Was an ex-MD, actually.
Musical director?
He was, yeah. He was an ex-MD of a company in Laois in Port Arrington. And he left that. Himself and a finance director were resigned. So he had left that business, and he obviously was looking around for work, got work in BRC as an operations manager, reporting to a managing director. So a bit of a demotion for him. But he came in anyway, and kind of throwing his weight a little bit around, And but again, he was an engineer. I'm an engineer, so like when it comes to engineering and that side of things, I think I'd more than be able to hold my own against him. But it's a case of around end of August, he just comes into my office. I had a little porta cabin. I was on my own, and just comes in through the door one evening just before I kind of went home, and with a letter in his hand, and just puts it on my desk like this. Have a read of that, he goes, and talk to me in the morning. I just looked at the letter. I don't know what the fuck this is. Opens the letter anyway.
Did he stay or just walk out?
No, walked out. It was, have a read of that, talk about it in the morning. Goes. And I opened it up anyway, and I kind of quickly looked at it, and it was, after a review, your job is now being considered for redundancy. You'll be going through what's called a consultation process. Your job, there's no decision made yet. We're going to go through this consultation process. Feel free to offer any, suggestions for other roles within the business you feel suitable for, and all this type of stuff. I went to the blue, so I went home and I told Patricia, I said, I said, I don't fucking believe this. I says, I think I'm been made redundant. And she looks at it as well now, and she probably as clued up in, you know, management as I would. And she says, oh yeah, she said, you're definitely, there's a target on your back, like, you know. This whole thing of consultants, you're, you know, a consultation process. She says, there's no consultation here. You know, it's a bit like the deduction of your wages. You know, they're just going to do it.
So when you go in the next morning, did they come into you?
No, I got summoned to a meeting effectively to meet the guy and to sit down.
Him on his own?
Yeah. I to do, because that meeting would be the start of this process.
Yeah.
So he'd say, like, do you want to bring somebody in with you or not? I said, no, there's nobody that I need here. So then he explained about, you know, when he came in, he was looking at the business and he reckons, like, you know, we're such a small company and you're a bit too overqualified. You know, you're kind of, you're just, you know, it was kind of like we believe that you're doing too much.
It's not you, it's us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frank, you're just too good for this job.
We apologize for the fact that we're too small to hire a guy like you, you know. So it was a case of, we feel now we might be able to absorb your job. I might take 30% of it. And, you know, this other guy there as a supervisor, he might take 20% of it. And we might outsource it another bit.
So instead of, there's another role for you here, like in the letter, it was like, we're taking over your job.
Yeah, more or less. Well, the way it was put to me, these are things we're considering. These are possibilities. There was nothing was definite at this stage. We're on the consultation process here.
Can we just get the mic back in front of you there, Frank? Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
So this was a case of, you know, these are potential scenarios that could happen. Like, I potentially could do 20% of your job. He could do 30% of it, and we could outsource the rest of it, you know. So I obviously I put forward all the arguments against, like, why this was a ridiculous idea. First of all, like, who's qualified to do my job? Like, are you qualified to do my job? What qualifications have you got to do my job? He had none. You know, so a guy that comes in, like, as a boss suddenly decides he can do your job, even though he's no qualifications, you know, to do your job. It's just my position. So that whole scenario, that process, just kind of went through different phases all the way through. Again, it almost, like, it really did just feel like a fair, you know, or complete, as to say, it was just, you know, they were going through the stages of a consultation, even though the decision had already been made and probably made months before, you know. So it was that was tough because, you know, I didn't want to go. I loved my job. I'm on record for saying that so many times that I was really happy there. I was well able to do the job. I was, you know, the go-to guy for, you know, I was looking after other sites, actually. I was looking after a site in Northern Ireland, which, believe it or not, when they were suggesting how they could do my job, they never mentioned the fact that, oh shit, we'd have to go up to Northern Ireland. Yeah. Like, there was none of that. In fact, I don't even think that guy was even up in Northern Ireland in that factory at the time when he was talking to me, because, again, he was only in the door.
So what happened after that meeting? What did you do? Were you basically told, figure out what you're doing?
Yeah, like I say, you go through this process whereby, you know, you're trying to justify why they shouldn't make you redundant.
That's demoralizing.
Totally. Yeah. And the other thing about it is, and this is the strange thing, like, you know, they were using, you know, all these sort of phrases, because I said to him, I said, what the greatest, I suppose, argument I had against the way this was being done was, I said, well, why are you picking on me? Like, why am I being selected? And what criteria did you use for selecting me? Oh, you're the only person in health and safety, or, you know, environmental health and safety. You're the only person in there, so but of course we have to select you. Sure, there's nobody else. But I was just kind of looking and saying, but there was a maintenance manager there at that time that reported into him as well at this stage. And I said, well, you know, did you not consider the maintenance guy? I said, I used to be a maintenance manager, like thinking of the meat plant, and I was actually maintenance in Bulmers in the Grants, the whiskey place. So I could do his job.
Yeah, you could actually have the qualification to absorb another job.
Absolutely, yeah. I worked in maintenance as a manager, maintenance manager role there, doing PMs and having, dealing with contractors and stuff like that. So, it just showed you straight away how you were targeted, like you were selected. And this was all, I know of in my own heart, this was all due to the fact that I had raised a grievance 2 years before that.
Yeah, they wanted you.
I was a bad egg. I stood up against I embarrassed, probably the MD. I embarrassed his boss because I went to the CEO as well. They didn't seem to be doing their job controlling this lad and all that. So I put a target on my back, right? And then they waited till this other manager came to retirement. They recruited this guy in. They made sure he was on a level higher than me that I reported to him. He did a review and he said, "We don't need you." And that was my I suppose, fake redundancy scenario, pretty much, there and then. It was over, my job was over.
So what did they say? Like, that's it, you're done? Like,
oh yeah,
did you have to agree, basically?
Well, no. You don't agree to this. You're told that's it, your job is gone. And it was a final letter after going through all this process, right? And me trying to defend myself and putting arguments up again, like, like, why me? Why, and it was, it's not a pool selection. There's certain terms they use in this process officially. And like a selection pool is one of the things, and then you have to have selection criteria and all this type of thing, right? To do this formally and properly, right? But in this situation, like I was singled out, right? Even though there was other people that he should have reviewed as well and made a selection then between me, say, and a maintenance manager and
Did the vibe between everyone you worked with change?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I'll tell you what happened.
Did you feel shit going to work every day?
Yeah. You couldn't trust, you didn't know who knew what kind of thing. And you couldn't you were going to meetings, you were coming out.
That'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
And you're going to have to just go back to your, to work as normal. And
but none of the people you work with go, "Oh, you're fucking right here. They're fucking you over, Frank."
No. See, in these sort of companies, like, fear and intimidation is huge, You won't get too many people willing to stick their head up over the pulpit, like, to say, stop now, that's wrong, They'll just suck it up. And
so you left then?
I had to leave, like, as I say, I was made redundant. The way that came about was I was in my office. I was told, like, that's basically told that the process had ended now and that they were going away to make their decision, right? And they'd be back to me by a certain time, a certain date. So I was working away and again in the little porta cabin there and on my own. And about 4:30, I used to finish at 4:30 there, and just around 4:30ish, same guy comes in and puts a letter on my desk, and didn't leave this time. Just asked me to
don't tell me he said open it.
To open it.
Open it in front of me.
Yeah. Because I had to kind of...
That's actually what happened?
Yeah. And so he was effectively telling me, like, that was your final termination letter. And he, like, opened it up there and read through the conditions, because he wanted to kind of say... In the letter, it was... we're going to give you this, and we're offering you this, and we're offering you that, if you sign this waiver. Right, just sign it, you get this.
Well, he wanted you to do that there and then?
What he said was, you're finished now. Your job ends now, right? You're being paid up to now. That's it. So I opened the letter, I just had a look at it, like I say, briefly, and he just kind of looks at me. He says, you understand what you're reading? And I said, yeah, I do. I said, and he looks at me, are you sure now? You're finished now. Your job is gone, right? You finished today. And I said, no, I said, I could understand that. I said, that's what it says. So I started gathering up my bits and pieces.
Dude, that's mad.
There and then. Started gathering up my bits and pieces.
Move this, just the front of it there.
Yeah. Started gathering up my bits and pieces. Believe it or not, I had a chair that I brought from home. And I was more worried that, I'm fucking taking my chair now because it's a good chair. So I just quite literally started clearing up my desk and...
You're in shock? Were you expecting it?
I was, yeah. I wasn't probably expecting it to go down the way it went. And to be kind of told I finished like there and then. I was told maybe the end of the week or whatever like that. But this wasn't the end of the week. This was kind of, in midweek. And so... I just kind of said, right, sure, that's it. And I knew from way back that it was a fake.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But just it was an embarrassing way to.
It's still a shitty way to fucking end after 8 years in a job that you loved and you were really good at, and you're always getting top praises from external like people used to come in and audit us, like from the construction kind of industries. Accreditation services, and used to come up from the from the UK and accredited and audited us to continue our accreditation, like for ISO standards and BS standards and all this stuff. They were always complimentary, and even the other half owner, the Spanish company, they always used to have pretty positive things to say about the way things were being managed there as well. And the KPIs, as I call it, the stats about accident prevention and all that sort of stuff had all gone like that as well, So the site was much, much safer than it was.
So when you fucked off home and the dust settled,
yeah.
When did you go, I'm not fucking putting up with this shit?
Well, see, they have to give you, and it was written, an option for an appeal. That's kind of, again, part of the process, right? There's all the formal process stages. So I had a right to appeal it. And the funny thing about it was I was going to be appealing to the guy...
Not the same lad again.
Who I appealed. Not him, no, not the managing director in the company, but his boss. The guy I did actually have an appeal with as well. So I had to appeal to him about the unfairness of the situation and this, that and the other and all that. So again, he started making contact, verbally, through written emails and things like that. So I was called to a meeting in Limerick, and I went into the same office that I'd been in previously before. And
strip search on the way in?
Not this time, no. I was allowed to bring a person with me, which I did this time. I wanted to have people with me, taking notes and going through a process there, and effectively, I had to explain why I felt I was being wronged by being made redundant, and I was appealing the decision. Sure, look, yourself how that turned out. He found for that, there was a genuine case there for letting me go, and he effectively signed off to that effect. So that's pretty much, that was the end of that process then. That was it.
That was you done in the company?
Done. Yeah. I appealed. He, said there was no position for me there, and that was it. So my only other option then after that was to go to the WRC. So to take a case against the company for unfair dismissal. So again, knew nothing about WRC, this, that, or the other. Did a bit of researching and found out, there's a form that you can go on the website to actually initiate a process. And once you make a submission, then you're in a queue, and at a point in time, you will be called to a hearing. It did take a while, for that hearing to take place. And both parties then have to turn up. And I went to a solicitor, and I made sure then that I had, all my
Ducks in a row.
ducks in a row, and he actually even employed a barrister as well, just to make sure all the I's were dotted and T's crossed as well. So when we went in there, we were kind of ready to go to war.
And were your boys there? The guys?
Yes. The guy that threw the letter on my desk.
What was it like walking
there.
into that room after not seeing him for ages?
Yeah.
Had they any contact with you in between this?
They were there in the room before me. So they had three people. They had my boss, the guy that threw the letter at me, the guy that I appealed to twice, and he, stuck with the initial decision. So he ignored my appeals, my two appeals. And then they had a solicitor. They had a solicitor there. And I think there was a note taker on their side as well.
How was the vibe?
When I walked into the room, I didn't look at him. Made no eye contact whatsoever. Sat down in front of him, no eye contact. Got out my briefcase, put it on the desk, took out my pen, paper, my notes, solicitor beside me, barrister beside him, adjudicator. And we both put forward our cases to them, to the adjudicator. She gets an initial assessment before it, so she's some way aware of the case. You give her.
Does she question?
You give her all the correspondence that would have taken place between the two parties as part of the consultation process and the appeal process. So she's aware, of the case.
Does she ask questions?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So she sees a discrepancy in each person's evidence. She can go try and correct it, or
she can probe deeper into certain areas.
And do you get grilled?
The process. Oh, yeah. I actually I had to answer questions that their solicitor was throwing.
Was it aggressive like in the films?
Yeah, reasonably, because she asked me a question that really had nothing to do with the case, but it was just kind of more or less. She said to me, were you made redundant before? And you're under oath now, so you have to tell the truth, the whole truth.
Did she say that?
No, but when you were actually in
that
room,
I get you.
You got to.
I thought you were saying that she said,
no.
Listen, you're on the road now.
No. But you'd like to. Sometimes you'd like to actually wish you did say that to some people, but no. So I answered the question. I said yes, I was made redundant before, and then it was like, well, why were you made redundant before? And again, honestly, I said because the company I was with, I said was making cutbacks, I said cost savings, and they stripped out a whole row of middle management. Well, isn't that what happened here? She was trying to relate what happened in Bulverstow. They stripped out a whole row of middle management, and I kind of no, I don't think that's what happened here. But you were made redundant before from a company. Companies are allowed to change. This company, she's representing, is allowed to change. So you had to go. What's the difference? And you're there.
Does your solicitor say anything?
No. They don't have to. I mean, to be honest with you,
you're badgering the witness, Your Honour.
Yeah, you're better off actually to try and answer these questions yourself. And it was a case of where I just said, no, it's not the same. It's not the same. And I just left it at that, and that was the end of it. But I just thought that was kind of, you were made redundant before. Big, what's the difference? Well, the big difference was the way I was made redundant.
That's why I'm here.
It's not the fact that I was made redundant and the company had to make cost savings or whatever. It's how it was done. And there was a whole strip out of a whole middle management team, you know what I mean?
There was nobody singled out.
Nobody was singled out. And nobody left there feeling that they were unfairly dismissed. In fact, we were very well treated, extremely well treated. I mean, the company looked after us, with our redundancies. They hired in tax experts, making sure that all, we're getting the most efficient way.
Did your solicitor get to grill them?
Yes.
Any good bits?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Go on, Frank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the whole argument on their side was the fact that they had conducted a review. Okay. And I had asked back in the consultation, I'd asked for a copy of this review. It says, show me the review, please. Show me the criteria you used that selected me out of the group. But no, there was no group. I mean, that's what I was told. There was no group now. Remember, you're the
only guy.
You're the only EHS guy, so, it couldn't be anybody else, only you. And then, like, the criteria is, sure, he could do a bit, I could do a bit. That sort of way. So that's where they focused on. They focused on the logic that they applied, right, to select me was based upon a review that they carried out. Okay, we asked for a copy of the review, and we were told it wasn't documented. Right now, their solicitor, which I thought was rather arrogant in a way, said it doesn't have to be documented. There's nothing in legislation that says it has to be documented. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, can you imagine doing any sort of management, making decisions in a business where you don't do, we say, the follow-up of a meeting and document and, or even preparing for a meeting, document, and during a meeting to be taken note, whatever. But the argument on their side was, you don't have to have a documented review. You can do it in your head.
So when you finished that meeting, what happens after that?
No, there is only one meeting.
That was it?
There is only one meeting.
And how long did that go on for?
Well, not for, started early in the morning, probably didn't finish till about 4:30.
Oh, fuck.
Nearly a whole day, yeah.
So what happened after the meeting? Or after that?
Well, like, when my legal people were asking the questions about how they conducted the actual process of selecting me, it came down to this. There was no documented review. The review was done in my manager's head.
Yeah.
Right? And he admitted that. Under oath, he admitted that was in his head because he knew things. He was so experienced that he was able to walk in, he could do the review in his head and he could say, don't need him.
Genius.
Don't need him. Right? The funny bit, and this is the bit where we all got so hard not to laugh, was when it came to the appeal process. And my guys asked the other guy, Mulhall was his name, Stephen Mulhall. They asked Stephen, how did you review the appeal of the redundancy? Did you review the review? No. Why not? Because it wasn't documented. Oh yeah, that's right. Sure, it wasn't documented. So you couldn't review what was in his head.
Yeah.
Silence. So the whole process on their side was absolutely.
And what was the part,
a web of
like the rationale for redundancy shifted?
Yeah.
From business needs.
Yeah, because they had argued in one part of the actual, we'll call it the process. They had said that, we reviewed the business, and because the needs of the business has changed, we don't need you anymore. Right? That was another one of their criteria. Well, nothing changed. They're doing the same thing today as they did 10 years ago. As nothing has changed in the business. They make mesh. They're the same processes, same ways of producing it, and they sell pretty much to the same customers. So the needs of the business really are, it's a hard one to say they've changed in any sort of meaningful way. And to suggest that because they've changed, that my role and my position is now no longer needed, becomes really,
Silly.
silly, absolutely silly. Why would you not need an environmental health and safety guy, manager, like looking after your
When you did
your
need them.
concerns? Yeah, and this company is, had plans for expansion and getting busier and things, which the need would actually even be more in the future.
As long as you kept taking 30% less.
As long as you keep 30% less. Exactly.
So did you think, what part of that day then did you think, God, I think I'm getting my point across here?
Well, I think the whole thing here was, right, that there was a review that they said they carried out and they couldn't show any evidence of it whatsoever. And it was freely admitted on their side that this was done mentally, right? And that the other person reviewed a review that was in another person's head, which again, as I say, just shows you just how stupid the whole, thing was there in their minds. The other point is that throughout the time period between me putting in, say, my application for my case to the WRC to when the actual case came up, right, I had found out, right, I'm not saying how, but I just found out that they had taken on a guy
To do your job.
to do my job. Called him a compliance manager, but he's doing my job. He was sitting at my desk doing pretty much what I was doing on a day-to-day basis.
For 30% less.
For a lot less. I would say a lot more.
60.
I'd say probably 60%, yeah, for sure. And the other thing about it was he actually was a health and safety officer in the company that this operations manager worked in. So, Before, yeah.
Jobs for the boys.
Yeah.
So did you win that day?
I won that day.
So what happened
Now,
then?
you don't know you won that day, but I came out of that knowing that the other side had literally been seen for what they really are.
But does no one come and say, look, we'll drop this, we'll give you a few pounds?
Oh, no, they did. They tried that a few times, yeah. They offered, silly money, like less than 10 grand or something like that, or maybe around 10 grand to, go away, sign a waiver, go away and all that sort of stuff, They also didn't want to pay me a bonus, which they argued, we pay a bonus, but it's always in January. So even though you worked, say, from the previous January to, February, March, April, May, all this, like if you leave before the January,
even if it's a month
even if it's a month before, you don't get it. And they were arguing that. Now, in some cases, that really does come down to the adjudicator, thinking how probably, I'd imagine there's a certain amount of fairness in how, this individual was treated in this company. And if they feel that, they're probably been really badly treated, they may kind of say, we think you should pay him the bonus, Now, I don't know, I'm not a legal person, but I don't know what the legal standing in it, other than I got my bonus.
So how long did you find out after that you were after winning the case?
It takes, I say I was waiting maybe 2 months. Maybe
2 months?
Yeah.
And what, you get a phone call?
This is slow. No, my solicitor notified me. He got an email from the WRC
Saying?
to say that your case was successful.
So what happens then?
So he rings me and he rang me to say, good news, you've won your case. However, they have 42 days to appeal. And this appeal was going all over Christmas. So I was there thinking, will they appeal? Will they not appeal? Then I was confident. I said, you know what? They don't have anything to appeal on. They have no point. They have no point of law to appeal on. And if they do, we're going to take another tack. Because we held back an awful lot. I was surprised how little of the
evidence you had to give.
I was there and I was throwing these post-its over to the two guys all the time. Here, say this. and the solicitor was going, and the barrister was going,
don't need to.
No. He literally just captured on 2 or 3 points, and that's all he needed.
So did they appeal?
No. Which I think is lucky for them.
So what happened then?
So then they have to send me
a check.
A check.
A big one.
Decent enough, but again,
You don't have to tell me now. You can tell me later.
Again. Well, this is all public. In public. There's
It's all public.
This is all on the WRC website.
Yeah.
You know, Frank Downey versus BRC McMahon. So, and all the names are there. So,
Did you look for an apology?
I mentioned tonight. It doesn't matter because it's all public in the public domain anyway. But no, I didn't look for an apology because I know the people and I know that you know, it's not in them.
I'd be happier with the money anyway.
Yeah.
At that stage.
Yeah, their apology wouldn't mean much to me. They let's just say.
Do you ever see him now?
No, I don't really want to. You know.
Did you go back to work after?
No, see, between
8 million.
between when the case started to when it ended, when I say started, I mean when I applied for. So you put in your submission and you're waiting months to be called to that case meeting, and then you're waiting after the case meeting for the decision. So between when I submitted an application to WRC to when the case came up, I'd actually found another job. A great job. I'm in that job now. I love it. Absolutely. Brilliant company, brilliant people.
Who are they?
Technopat.
Shout out to Technopat.
Yeah.
Anything to Postman?
yeah. No, they're a fabulous company in Tipperary North as well, near Nina, and you know, set up by an entrepreneur, Irish guy, just developed this company out of nothing, absolutely from scratch, right? And you know, the thing that really sort of I admired is that it's all about creativity, innovation. It's all about, you know, we manufacture.
Like you, man.
We manufacture products that's used in every hospital, like, you know, around the world. Like the biggest multinational companies, you know, in the pharma industries, we work with, we supply, like the likes of Abbott and Roche and all these companies. We're partners with them. So we are a fabulous homegrown indigenous company. They were taken over and bought by, because they're such a good company, they were attracted to a lot of, you know, external businesses, and they did actually get bought over by a UK-based company called LGC, which is in business since over 100 years, you know. They were a laboratory testing, part of the government, laboratory testing. And they're in business like literally since, I think, you know, the 1870s or something like that, you know. And so we're part now of that group, huge group, massive group. And we are now leading edge on...
And tell me this, Frank. What advice would you give to someone that was put in the position you were in?
I think you have to have a lot of faith in yourself. I think you have to be very strong-minded and not be intimidated and just see people.
That's easier said than done, though.
It is. And I think perhaps the challenges that I had, you know, in life
helped to do that.
Just made me stronger, kind of to deal with that sort of conflict and that sort of, you know, them sort of challenges.
Well, here's a different question. What advice would you give to the managers that done that to you if they wanted to get rid of someone?
Well, I think one of the things that a manager should always have is empathy. Empathy. Just put themselves in the position of the person they're dealing with. Here's the thing, and this is a fact, right? That the guy's name is Fikra Cregan. Like, as I say, I can name names because it's in the public domain. And he worked in Jamestown Manufacturing in Port Arlington. But he was out of a job, you know. He spent a Christmas at home with his family, with his kids, not having monthly income, knowing what that was like. And he put me in that position in the following 12 months, where I had a Christmas with no income, you know. So he knew exactly how that felt. And that's a person that either they have no empathy, they can't, you know, why would you put somebody in exactly the same sort of position you were in 12 months previous? You know how that felt. You know how, you know, you had to get presents or there was expenses at Christmas and you're thinking, yeah, you know, I'm now on welfare. You know, I'm on welfare here, you know, and, you know, it mightn't be in my situation, the kids are looking for presents, but maybe, you know, the dog gets sick or like the engine blows up in the Jeep or whatever like that. And it's a case of, you know, I don't have this security of a monthly salary coming in now. I'm going in, and I'll tell you another thing, going into the post office every week
Get the dole.
to get the dole is not the nicest thing to do. And you're there with your, you know, experience, and having worked in companies in Thurles, like, you know, you were nearly always going to meet somebody that you knew, and you're there like as in the queue for your dole. No, it's not nice. It's not.
But you
nice.
got through it.
You get through it, yeah. Like I say, you just have to be strong. You have to be confident that you're in the right, and I think that's the thing. I knew there was a wrong being done against me. I could see why that was being done, because somebody robbed 30% of my salary previously. The revenge is a dish best served cold. They wasted their time till this other guy was retiring. Brought in a guy to replace him, so-called. Yet I was going to be reporting into this guy. Got this guy to do a review, pick me out, make me redundant. Bye-bye. Problem solved.
But it was a win for the little guy.
Yes. They probably... See, I don't think they've ever really had to deal with a guy like me before.
I don't think many have.
You know, that's part of it. Like I say, probably a little bit more, you know, clued into what, you know, about the law. Like in health and safety or I deal with a lot with legislation, and so I would be consulting like regulations and acts and all that type of thing. So, you know, I would have a little bit of a compliance head on me when it comes to, you know, what is acceptable and not acceptable and things like that. So I guess that certainly helped as well. So I kind of was able to just Google, and I was able to use, you know, certain free sites as well, like, you know, about, you know, cases like mine. And like if you log on to the WRC website and you can see all the cases there, like my case will be there forever. There's no hiding, you know, like the names are names. They're out there. That's why there's no problem with me mentioning names here. It's a case where you can look at situations like mine, and you can see exactly what was said in the arguments, and you can see how, you know, people have been, you know, making.
So if you have a grievance, if you did enough time doing a little research, you'd know whether you have a case. Do a little
bit of research and see exactly. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I mean, the other thing about it, the little guy as well, is you really are on your own for a lot of these situations. This company hired in consultant. You know, they had a HR consultant, you know, off site that they were liaising with to put together this process. You know,
and you're just you,
and you're on your own. There, every time they make some sort of a correspondence with you, an email or whatever, and you respond back to that email is getting forwarded to this external consultant that you don't. Well, I do know who she is, but and I even named her in some of the emails, because I got so sick of the fact that I was getting back responses that I knew weren't written by the people that had sent me the thing, like, because they were just too well written and they were too precise and they were, you know, quoting this selection pool of one and all. I mean, the guys I was dealing with in BRC didn't know it. That wasn't their lingo. Like, you know, you knew that now I'm in a conversation with somebody outside that's an expert in their area, and this person has, you know, employment law qualification and all this sort of thing. So there you are on your own, you know, trying to respond back to emails, and you're literally responding back to an expert, and they're trying to catch you out, or they're trying to, you know, find, you know, get you to say or write something that, you know, they can use then against you in should the case go legal.
Are you ready for the real hard questions?
Yeah.
Have you been told about these?
No.
The real deposition.
No.
Are
you serious?
Oh, if you think the last thing that you had with the solicitors in Yorks was hard.
Come on now, lads.
You weren't expecting this, were you?
No.
Right.
How could I? Sure.
Are you ready? Just answer now. These are now first off the top of your head. Right. What's your first vivid childhood memory?
Peeing in a milk bottle.
What?
I peed in a milk bottle.
Hey, I wasn't expecting that. That's brilliant.
I remember it because I was beaten across the arse in the back of the legs. I peed in a milk bottle, yeah, at the front door when I was a child. I swear to God. It's true.
Jesus.
Anyway, next.
What's the most painful thing you've ever been told? Move this thing. You can just pull it.
Told, I suppose. I was told over the phone that my dad had stage 4 cancer. That was probably one of the hardest things ever, that to be told. And again, that's recent, so it's kind of very raw as well. But that probably was it.
If you walked into a room with everyone you'd ever met, who would you go looking for first?
Everyone I ever met?
Everyone you've ever met in your life.
My wife. Yeah, for sure.
If you could make one phone call to heaven, who would you call?
Don't believe in heaven.
If.
Stuff. Probably my friend that hung himself.
What would you say to him?
I suppose, why didn't he reach out? Why didn't he, talk, tell me, his feelings, that sort of stuff. The other people that died, I can understand it. The accident, I can understand, dying of cancer and things like that, but can't understand that one. Yeah.
Would you like yourself if you met yourself, Frank?
Oh God, no. I think I'm boring as fuck. Absolutely. I think I was really concerned, that you'd fall asleep or you'd, find me just so uninteresting. So I'm kind of surprised I'm here as long as I am.
I don't think, like me and Matt, we do these there's nobody uninteresting. And you don't have to scratch very far between the surface of anyone for interesting life stories and hardship and pain. And
That's it. You just have to ask the right questions.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think like everybody suffers pain, so I don't see myself as being any different from most people. Like, to be honest, it's just a different story in a way of time.
Well, you had a lot of pain when you were young.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, no, everyone has, and I mean, I know some guys that have yet to go through it, and I really, really, they have to lose parents. They got to, they got to deal with death. They kind of got away with it maybe up until their late 40s and stuff like that, and. I do feel sorry for them in a way that it's all ahead of them,
What's something you're holding on to that you need to let go of?
I think there's an awful lot of grief that I'm dealing with still. I don't know if I'll ever be fully over what's happened. Does it? It does. It's a heavy load, As I say, physically, I was able to lift 3 times my body weight. But I feel like I was crushed into the ground with like some of the things I had to deal with, life can make a strong man very weak, or feel powerless and feel, absolutely,
Well, after listening to your story tonight, I can tell you now you're incredibly strong.
Yeah, I'd like to think that, but I don't know. I think I'm still struggling with that. It's like when you're bench pressing and the weight you're pushing and pushing and pushing. You're not locked out yet. When you're locked out, you're safe. But no, it's not locked out yet.
It's a great phrase. I like that. Would you rather be hated for being yourself or hated or loved for being someone else?
No, I have to be myself. Yeah, I don't care if you like me. I have no concern on that whatsoever, but I would never pretend to be somebody else just to be liked. No, absolutely not.
I know the answer to this one. Who brings you the most happiness in your life?
My wife.
What's your favourite thing to do with your wife?
Can't say.
Other than that, second thing.
I just like being with her. I just, I love her smile. I just, just love her. That's all it is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think things happen for a reason, or do we find reasons for them to happen? We kind of touched on that earlier on.
Yeah. I think certain things happen outside of our control. I don't think this thing of, you know, you have this crazy manifestation and all this. I just think that's absolutely. I just think it's baloney. You know, I really do. I think it's crazy. I think we're at the mercy of nature. I think we battle against nature every day. I don't think we ever know what's around the next corner. So whilst you think you're in control, there's an awful lot of things that are just going to happen the way they're meant to happen. They'll happen whether you're concerned about them happening or not. Or I've known guys that are the most organized, micromanaging people, and things they've ended up with in situations that, you know, I count myself lucky I'm not facing, you know.
What do you think happens when you die?
It's like turning off. My mind, it's like, where does the light go when you blow out the candle? Where does it go?
I think about it differently.
Sure you do.
It has to go somewhere. The energy. Like, don't tell you in science, energy can't be created or destroyed. It just moves from one form to another. It has to go somewhere.
That's our definition of
life
as far
experience
as we understand it.
And stuff. Where does it go in your memories, everything you learn?
What I would say to you is this: would you want to exist forever in some form? Like, what would be the purpose? What would be the purpose to exist in some form forever and ever and ever?
See what happens.
But is that not, like, after a while, is that not almost kind of like repeating the same old? Like, what happens is what happens. You're not in control. You're just observing. You're observing.
That'd be scary. Observing without feeling. I'd love to observe and feel, whether it be pain, because I think of pain differently than I used to. I never really understood pain, and I never really understood stuff like that until I got older. You know. And
were you ever put under a general anesthetic?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I don't know. But I've done drugs in my life to freak me out and made me think differently on stuff. And
sure.
But general anesthetic is like when you wake up from a sleep. But it's just...
Well, asleep you don't dream. But if you like, I've been under anesthetic, you know, a few times. I got appendix out, a few other things. But
put this up to your face there.
But like, the point is, like, you're just gone. You know, you as an identity, right? You just leave the universe for a couple of hours. The body's there, yeah, that's fine, but that's like a corpse. The body is there, but where is, you know, where's David Cuddy for that 2 hours he's under general anesthetic? Where is he? You know, the body is alive.
No, I'm even more freaked out. Where was I?
But
where are we?
But there's 2 hours outside.
Like, you're somewhere.
But there's 2 hours there that you'll never be able to account for. Like, they're gone. They're like my 30%. It's gone out of my salary. You know, you'll never see it again. So you'll never get back that 2 hours. You're gone, and that to me is like, you know, it's kind of what happens when you die. You're just gone. You have no. There is no you. There is no identity. There's no self. There is no. It's like the light of the candle. It's gone. It's not scary or it's not bad, but it's like, where were you before you were born?
Well, that's like
No.
Like waking up from a dream. Do you know? Like when my kids were born, right? And sometimes you go, where's the spark of life? You know, where does it start? So when they're born, are they just this empty slate? Like, if you think about it, like, biologically, are they just this empty slate of just biological matter that the world just inputs stuff into them, and then you just flow through and you die? Is that the case? But then you try and think about the spark of consciousness and how everyone just, these life experiences and the things that you feel and the fact that we love and the fact that you miss people, and when they go, they're still there because you can't touch anything in the past. So the past doesn't exist, future doesn't exist. There's only the now, but still we have all this pain and we have all this love, and none of that doesn't make sense. Biologically, it doesn't make sense. So in my head, I justify it as it's something else. And I look at my chaps and I see, even with the dogs at home, you're there. They're just there's something.
I agree. I have 7 dogs, all rescues.
You have 7 fucking dogs.
7 dogs. Yeah. Nobody wanted them. I took them, and you know, I look after them. But it's a case of I look at them and I say, you know, that's a spirit in itself, as I define it. It's a little. I won't call it a soul, but I just say it's a little spirit, little being, you know, a little identity, has its own little, you know, peculiarities, and it's amazing. Like, you know, I've seen it in cats and everything. They do their own little thing, and this cat will do it, and we may never see that again. A cat doing that, you know, or a dog doing. They're their own little peculiar little quirks, you know, that makes them kind of unique and stand out, and it's amazing to see. You know, I love seeing that. But the thing that I like about, say, rescuing animals is that you kind of you give them another hope. You give them a chance to express themselves and to come out of their shell in a way. You know, I've taken dogs that, you know, were just looking at a corner of I call it a cell, but a corner of a kennel. We're just looking in there at it for, you know, 20 hours a day until they got fed, and then like they'd move, and then they'd go back, and they'd just be staring into a corner. Like, what sort of fucking life would that be? You know, sure. But you take them away from that, and, you know, you can see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all it takes is love.
Yeah, somebody to look after them, you know, somebody to give them an opportunity to, you know, release them from that, you know, confines of that. So, yeah, I like that.
I think that's what we all need. I think when I go to heaven or whatever it is, and I'll have St. Peter and God and Jesus, Mary, the whole lot of them be there. And I'll be like, David!
Are you going to interview them?
Welcome, I am. Another question.
Go on.
You'll love this one. When was the last time you shit yourself?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I ask it in such a profound way, don't I?
I don't know. I suppose there was a time when squatting heavy weight, you'd have to make sure.
A bit of poo has to come out there
You'd have
sometimes.
to make sure that you empty your bowels, you know,
Before you do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you go to a powerlifting competition, I mean, the stink of the gents' toilets is unreal. Because, you know, everyone's trying to make sure that they're fairly empty
Empty their
before they
bowels.
start fucking squatting and deadlifting and things. And yeah. So
Frank, it was lovely talking
Thank
to you.
you.
Are you
Thank
ever going to, will you tell Morgan now to come on? Because you're Morgan Matter's friend.
Morgan Marr always uses me as a Guinea pig, yeah. On pretty much you know, every opportunity that he can. It's, Frank, we should put a 4.2 litre engine into a Nissan Patrol.
You're getting the Patrol then?
And suddenly, no, I have a couple of Patrols. I don't know, 4 or something like that. And but it was me that had the 4.2 first, you know, just try it out, see does it fit, see can we get it in. And now that he knows that it fits, it's great, you know. He likes to use my money to try these things on, and he says it to me brazenly. Sure, you know, it's great that I can, you know, see how this goes on your money.
Yeah.
So, no, he's brilliant. Great respect for him, and yeah, I love his company.
Yeah, he's a lovely man.
Going up there tomorrow.
Do work. He's going to work free labour.
Free labour.
So he's going to work the shit. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're paying him to do up another Jeep.
Yeah.
He is getting up on you.
Oh yeah. He has a good deal there. There's no question of it. You know, but no, I mean, what we're doing is fabulous. We're keeping, you know, these machines, these iconic Jeeps. We're keeping them going. We're making them better than what Nissan actually made them, and they were a fabulous Jeep to start with. Like, you know, they were, as you know, the army had them, and they've been UN vehicles. They've been, like, absolutely tried and tested, and here we are, and we're improving them in every single way that you can possibly think of.
And look cool.
And look cool, yeah. But it costs a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah. But look, you know, can't take it with you.
No, you can't. Thanks a million, Frank.
Thank you. Thank
Really
you. I love
appreciate
the
it.
opportunity to talk to you.
Thanks a million.
Cheers.
Good luck.